Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions, as we step into heaven together to see the impossibility of not being in heaven and to really notice what's happening in terms of the denial. And how we get to experience the joy of miracle, I'll just say, him arranging time and space together. That encouragement that comes in, like how beautiful it was today. How you can see it's all provided more and more. As I said, coming here to Mexico, and it's like, oh, okay. You're not learning Spanish. I've told all of you that. It's actually touching me so deeply in the heart, because I learned a wee bit in one little week-long class, okay? I mean, and then, okay, now you're going to have this property down in Mexico, and then you see how you follow, like having Enrique here, and then Dyra going, oh, I'll help you translate. She just like offered that, like, so today this quote came in, we needed to talk to the representative in Spanish. There's Dyra on the phone. And here comes Dennis in, because I don't know what to ask for in terms of fiber optics. Well, what does he do? Jesus gives you a fiber optics expert on this team here of holiness. And, it's like the emails are flying, the messages are flying. We're talking to them, it's coming through. Then Enrique just gets the whole thing. He didn't even know I had talked to Dyra. Now, how's that? He's Jesus on campus here. And I just typed one line that Dennis said, and first thing you know, he's in here, Enrique telling me already that he had talked to her about to add that little part of the contract. I don't know actually that they did, actually, because they use different words in Spanish. And they're like little surprises with the contract, but you just keep asking, do I sign this contract? And there's so much love, like, yes, like, and it's such humor. I've said this before, like my whole, like the K character's whole function was contract negotiation. And like, I wouldn't have had a contract go out through my mom, near me without like going through it with a fine tooth. Now here's one in Spanish, people. Like, it's like, okay, Jesus. But he sends the angels, for the important things. Dyra's like, we're joining, we're just seeing how the one mind's working together with this contract as the backdrop. I'm talking to Dyra, asking her question. Meanwhile, I get a text from Dennis telling me, okay, go for it. Dyra's going, go for it. Jesus is going, go for it. It was like so many signs and symbols, even though, boy, I would have had so many objections, because it's hilarious. Dyra doesn't know this. I get the contract and I'm looking down at it, not in enough Spanish, but the spirit brings you right to where you need to see. And I said, wait a minute, this looks like a promotion that it's going to drop from 40 to 20 megabytes next year, But then Jesus goes, yeah, it's next year. And to be able to just drop all the extras, oh my gosh, so much love in that. Relax. And just watch how the mighties come in. They have like, they wear the little angel wings in there, and they come breezing through with that little piece of whatever was needed. They're acting Jesus. Do you see that? Moving through. I'll tell you exactly what you need to know when you need it. And Enrique floats in here, and then he's like, nothing ruffles him, and he just floats back out. Oh my God. you know, just because the support comes in. It's miraculous. And then the support was given for the contract. Another mighty angel came in, flew in. Oh, I'll help with that. You know, you just, their little wings, they just fly through and give you the message from Jesus, all is well. So I see that it's beautiful. I'm writing up a description just to let you know of last night's video in case you weren't on and didn't hear it. But last night was the description of how to join to do chapter 20. So the description might be up. Maybe it is now on the YouTube. Yeah. So you have a little bit, right? Yeah, it's there. And then we'll put that on a document. And just encouraging anyone who wants a joining buddy to let us know. I know we have heard from a couple of people, but we're not sure if they got buddies or not. So we'll just keep in touch as you want a buddy. Okay, and then we are going to look at it. It's just been a little full on today with a couple of spirit assignments. We will support everyone who needs a buddy in some way. And someone's already contacted me and they wanted to get together as they start, and that's function too, you know. It's a joy to be with all of you in this, and it's for me just to come together and we just celebrate. Like Dyra and I are talking about today, like, you don't know who's talking anymore because it's God talking everywhere. Look at that. And everybody's reporting that with the joinings, like, wow, this isn't about this ILOX contract at all. You know, and the videos too, like these little meditation videos, it's so extraordinary. Like all the beings, like Dyra might clip it, or she adds those little beginnings and ends and she sends it here, and then we might add pictures, or it's just such a beautiful collaboration. Like you see that that's such an illusion of the one being doing anything, because we have such a big idea in the play of consciousness that you're doing it all. Right? You know, I'm going to get this video out there. And then you see like, whoa, this is amazing. You know, when you really just don't own anything, like don't let yourself be owned by something, then you're so free for whatever is happening. Like, wow, you know, and then you just see the beauty in it. How joyful. Like, it's like your brother comes in with a little gift basket. A little love basket of a little video, or that supports the whole. It's just really beautiful. And the other thing, I'm so grateful my brothers, you know, because we can see together how consciousness plays, and it plays everywhere, but like we're really focused on it here at the center. And it really comes up around food. You know, you just never thought you wanted peanuts as bad as if someone ever tells you. You ever notice that? Like if you hear something like you cannot have peanuts, it's like, oh. Like you never want peanuts so bad. Or anything. Like you wouldn't even cross your mind for like 45 years maybe. But as soon as someone would say, okay, so you can only have one of those, you know, it brings up all that leftovers from the play in consciousness when you were 10 and your parents told you couldn't have something, you get really mad. Yeah, like Rita says, you got it, but what the, you know, and like you can't really know why spirits, but Jesus just knows where those things that are most helpful to let that old no to God just come up to be seen. And it's just a symbol of like, where don't we want to join with Jesus on our decision making? But it's beautiful. It's for the whole. You see where we're owned by a peanut. I wonder if Kelly's gonna, she's so great. She's like, oh, I found a turtle. You know how I used to talk about how we go turtle and pulling? She found a turtle picture. And it's like, maybe we'll be looking for peanut pictures next, you know, the peanut that control me. But you see it, you start to see how like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you feel like you're gonna chew the side of a barn if you don't get a certain candy bar or something. You just start seeing that. You know, it's gonna, because of what's gonna happen if I don't get it. Going through this chapter is really gonna, you can really start to see that's experience here. How many of these little things are, how we're owned by death. I'm saying death and I'm laughing. I think this is good news. Because, this is really good news. Because as soon as we see it, it's not hidden anymore. That's the thing. It's not, doesn't have, it takes the control out of it. As long as we look. Now, if we avoid it and go up into the kerfuffle and all the, it might go for a minute sometimes, you know, what the WTFs and, you know, and that kind of cues it off, the WTF, and then it goes into the whole who's getting me story. Jesus is, you know, we just bring it back. It brings it back to the F and then to the T and to the W. You know, it's bringing it all the way, you know, to the desire before the WTF arises. I hope that translates into Spanish. No, it doesn't. Okay. Okay, it's okay, and then try. Yeah, Jesus said, what the fuck? It's the initials for what, you know, what the hell, you know. See, that Jesus doesn't have any words that aren't allowed. It's really how we're using them to deny ourselves. I'll tell this story, like, I've told this story. He says, yes, I can share it again. So I was listening to it. He says, you know, you really need to say fuck you more. It was like, you know, because I needed it. I needed that. I see it. He knows, you know, he really knows where we have an idea that's so locked down about spirituality. And he knew I needed that because I was the kind of the nice spiritual. Smile, even though you're like pissed off, kind of, you know. And what happened, it was such a gift. He always knows, because I finally was so mad and I just said, fuck you, you know, like that. And then, but I was watching and I realized there's no one for fuck you to go out to. Do you see? It's a boomerang, because it helped me see that, wait a minute, there's no one out there when you're saying and cursing, and we're cursing ourselves. It was like, that was direct and helpful, because it really, you know, for many reasons, because Jesus is always right, first of all. Two, you never know what he's going to tell you and then have you do. I've learned that for sure. You know, because like on the sacrifice, oh yes, and I'll never see whatever it is I said I'd never see, and then I'd be wrong about that too. I'll never have I think I thought something like, well, there goes any nice meal that I could ever have. Seriously, really. Sure. I'm willing to give it up, Jesus, really, every good meal I ever had, you know. however consciousness plays when we go into the spiritual journey, to insist that everything's over, because that's the play. That's how consciousness has to play, like you're going to die to go to God. It has to do that. The only way, because you're already God. So the only way we can't see, oh, I'm one with the light, is to believe consciousness, the serpent fragmentation in consciousness. It says we're not light. But he really, it's very helpful when he starts showing you how all the objects that own you. And I remember that when I went to sell, I was so hung up on objects. Like when I went to get my house ready to sell it, I just basically couldn't look at things anymore after a while, because everything that I would touch would be a dilemma. Do I keep this? Do I need, it was like, thankfully, the spirit was wise to give me the prompt to hire one of those beings that take care of the elderly when they move out of their house. It was best. And the K would have never done that, really, because, too much pride, somebody looking at all the stuff. I don't want anybody seeing what was hidden in that basement. That's what's hilarious. Now Jesus is... But anyway, so I can remember just looking at all, and I could feel the tension and the stress of the decision, trying to make a decision about, okay, what about this? And like thousands of objects like that, and not seeing that, I was just owned by all that. And that happiness that if he said tomorrow, walk out, okay, walk out. So if he tells you to walk out, just walk out. And I wouldn't have said that either in the past. I could, I would have, because there was because there was a reflection in my own mind that something untoward would happen, or if you walk out of your life, no, nothing's going to happen. You'll be happy. Walk out. It was really beautiful joining with Mary, actually. I mean, what a great reminder, because we were talking about maybe her coming to visit and talking about how Jesus may make it just easy for her to walk out. Like, what a gift that is. You start seeing how that's happiness, not having to lift a finger. He was probably telling me to get rid of everything. I'm asking him. He says there was some function to that. There were some holy relationships, but you could have asked me more. That's what he says. That's true. Because otherwise, if I'd been asking him on everything, it would have been a fast, just toss it or give it away. But he said, he's reminding me, yeah, he said that resource was provided for that, to help. Because we are so object hungry, because we're so bereft of spirit. So the more bereft of spirit, I mean, this isn't a barometer. You don't go around and look at all your brothers and go, boy, you're really, but he's saying the more bereft of spirit, a lot of times there are a lot of objects that we got to have. Yes, he says you got to have it. But there's also bereft of spirit living on the street. You can know that too. You can be very bereft of spirit and live on the street. It just plays in different ways. Just check in. Jesus, am I owned by any peanuts? Just, what are my peanuts of consciousness? Because really what's being held, again, under all the anger, let's just say, and like your parents would tell you, okay, you can't have this. So first of all, you're going to want it bad. That's how it worked with the Halloween candy. I know. We would hunt that stuff down to find the Halloween candy, but that doesn't end when you're 7, you know, it continues it well into the play. And so the anger that comes, so let's just say, okay, you can't have that piece of candy, whatever it is. First of all, as I've said, consciousness plays to want that candy more than anything. That's the first thing. Notice it. We know this, but we're going to watch it in slow-mo. We're going to do the slow motion with Jesus on it. Okay. That feels really good. So we can see how it plays, because it seems to be so fast and out of our control. Let's just ask Jesus, is guilt out of our control? Never. So we think, okay, so yeah, let's go through with Jesus. Feels good. Okay. So you can't have the peanut. So first of all, we created the peanut. And then the character that's going to tell us you can't have the peanut is Jesus. You can't have that candy bar. So did we create both those scenarios? The peanut bar, candy bar, and both of those. Ask Jesus, did I make that up? He never tells you no. It's hilarious. Okay, so now you got, so it's a desire for something at the same time, it's the desire to be denied it. Okay. And to hide that none of that's true, Donna, the shark starts going up into the kerfuffle of anger at being denied and the guilt for wanting it, wanting something. See, it splits, the desire splits. Then you got guilt and wanting, and then you got defense and anger. I'm going to defend it. And then we get hung up all up in there in the, I'm going to defend, I deserve this peanut more than anything in the world. And we know it plays with more than peanuts. Okay. And I deserve it. And don't you keep it from me. So can you see all the you're ripping heaven. You heaven ripper over there. When it's just totally the miscreation in consciousness to have an experience that heaven's ripped. It's way down here. But it seems to move fast. And it seems out of desire to move faster than the correction can get in there. And you can just ask him, Jesus, am I more powerful than this? All this. But as he's showing us underneath that desire, as we're going through chapter 20, or each of these chapters together and really looking and letting him show us that the steam that's being held under the kettle, you know, it's got a cork in the kettle and all these subconscious desires will bloom out into objective experience like that because we haven't looked to see we want them. But as the desires fall away, then you're not owned by peanuts anymore, not playing the peanut game, the shell game, because it can't rise anymore. You can ask them, without my desire, does anything in consciousness arise without my desire for it? We'll call this can be the peanut talk. Because it's humbling him talking like peanuts about this, just seeing how many little peanuts there are. He says everything's less than a peanut. And you know that quote, make a mountain out of a molehill. That's we generate a mountain out of a peanut, which we've all seen a lot in consciousness. And you're wrong about it. We're always wrong about it. But I mean, you know, you have a big old blow up and just find out that you missing some little piece of information. And we're always missing Jesus's interpretation 100% of the time. That's hilarious. Peanut. Oh my gosh, he's giving me the talk. He's saying you're worthy of so much more. He's just given the love cuddle talk here, which he gives to all of us. Telling he's put me on the ground every day. He says, how can what's infinite be limited in such a way? This is so impossible. He says, see that it's impossible. He says, you cannot know how precious you are in this play. I would tell you of this, and only of this. All the love the Father has for you. There isn't anything else, not anything else other than that love of the Father. You have come to me and asked, you've invited me to come to you. Would you not follow me? To show you that your everything is given as the Father's given you. That's why we let the Holy One speak through us. Because that's our true voice, the voice that speaks for totality, all that is without limit. Beyond the little peanuts of this world. The peanuts that would try to prove that God is dead. He says, beloved, you'll never prove that. You'll never prove it. It's a misuse of time to prove it because it can't be proven. See, in the light of divine being, this can't be proven. We know this isn't true together. I'm asking him, you want me to say this? Is stay with me, stay out of the peanut play. These are nothing to you, nothing to you, nothing to you. All I can say here is he's fulfilled every promise that he's made. And particularly always in A Course in Miracles, but really with the new covenant like that, really promise of how he's so here for us. He's taking us so far beyond space and time together in these joinings. He says, I'm taking you to where you belong, infinite. To the only place that you can ever be, which is infinite. So we were talking in chapter 17 about Uji would say this, you get kissed from the inside. Like kissed by so much love from the inside. That it's so unmistakably the kiss of the Father. We were even talking about like these, there's no emotion to the tears. There's just infinite love expressing in wholeness in its divine perfection. As these desires for something other than wholeness wash out. It's just really taken, okay. This course is really about all or nothing. All in or all in, and I see it has to be all in. Because we're all in already. Like I said, like the little fish swimming around in the water going, you see any water lately? He's talking to the starfish. He's going to go have a conversation with an octopus. Anybody know where there's some water? This infinite love in every... This course is really about all or nothing. There's no midpoint at which divine nature and the idea you have created of yourself meet. Consciousness is a play and pretend like you haven't met yourself. Is that the play, Jesus? You can ask them. You'll know it. It's a desire to experience not knowing ourselves. That's the only way it can play. That's the only way a dream can play and feel real, is for the desire to not know. There is no midpoint at which divine nature and the idea you have created of yourself meet. When you admit there's no midpoint, it can't be found. In the light of divine being, can a midpoint be found? Midpoint's unknown. There's no negotiation in the common, as is common in the ways of the world. Oh my God. He's saying, can't you see that you're negotiating against yourself? Every time you negotiate, you can't see how it's impossible to negotiate with infinite light. That's what we're doing all the time, is trying to negotiate against ourselves, to convince ourselves. So here's the little bit of humor in it. It's so infinite. So much love in this. So we're infinite beings wanting to be convinced that we're infinite. Wanting Jesus to convince us that we're infinite when we're already infinite. In the light of divine being, if there's not some serious insanity in that. Jesus, am I an infinite being? Am I trying to have an experience? Do I desire an experience in which I want somehow to be convinced that I'm infinite? Is the play of consciousness to pretend I'm not infinite for a while and then have a little storyline of getting convinced that I am infinite? It's a good reason to drop the waking up story. Yes, Jesus. Have no story about waking up whatsoever. That'll save time. Will it, Jesus? Yes. Speak only with the God tongue. See, the serpent is going to tell the story. Tell only the stories I tell you to tell. So you're not practicing the compromise. That's what he says, practicing the compromise. And I'll back up a couple of sentences. This is where you learn what you're choosing for. For you see, you have been choosing against what is most holy and natural to you, light. Wanting to be convinced that we're infinite. We're already infinite. Wanting to be convinced that we're infinite. Is that the play in consciousness? You can ask Jesus. Holy smokes. And we want to negotiate for it too. Want to negotiate with Jesus. That's why he cannot, does not, will not ever negotiate. That's why you stop negotiating with them. And when you start seeing how much you're trying to butt Jesus him, I saw that. Oh my gosh. The left and right butt Jesus. And you just stop negotiating. Well, how about this, Jesus? How about a little bit longer here? Well, it gets more and more, well, just yes, Jesus, because you see that insanity of being divine and trying to talk to Jesus. You convince me I'm divine. Now he does it because he sees how deep the play is. He recognizes that the play is so deep to say no. That's the way it has to play. Him arranging time and space until we see we've had control of time and space the whole time. Ask him. Do I have total control over time and space as an infinite being? Except as an infinite being, you won't be dabbling in it. Ask him, would I be dabbling in it? No, you're timeless. There is no midpoint at which divine nature and the idea you have created of yourself meet. There's no negotiation as is common in the ways of the world. Well, first of all, we know that negotiation requires two. So that would be admitting that there's two. And that would be saying that we're not divine, that there's only one. That's why God does not negotiate. He cannot, the anger is that we are mad because he won't grant us our wish to be limited. You can ask Jesus. Jesus, is that what I'm really mad about? I'm really mad that you won't grant me my wish to be limited. That is deep. Heaven cannot negotiate with what never happened. That's a good quote. Yet you still have the desire to negotiate, to have heaven and hell meet in the midline. Let's just ask them. Might as well hear it. Jesus, do I still have a desire for heaven and hell to meet in the midline? To try to keep some little piece of hell and bring it into heaven. He always comes back to this. I must need to hear it because he says, whenever you don't follow me, you're trying to bring hell into heaven. You're insisting that hell is a good place to be. That's what he says. When you don't follow my instructions, you're insisting hell is a great place and you can work it out. Oh my gosh. Half of one is still hell. The tiniest compromise is hell, even though you believe the ego that some small part of a personal identity can be preserved and you can still find heaven within. Jesus, this is a good one to ask him about. Is there any compromise? And will you show me where that is? And just see, Jesus, do I have a desire not to see where I'm compromising? Will you show me where I'm compromising? And just, you can just sit with them. I'm going to sit with them and see, make sure there are no compromises. We don't even know where we're compromising because we're so involved in the no. I know he's the only one who can tell me where I'm truly compromising. The ego negotiates, the Father does not. See that the Father cannot negotiate with us. And there's so much gratitude that he won't negotiate. He will not negotiate that we are infinite being. This is the happiest news. He will not negotiate that we're not always with him in heaven. He won't agree to us with that. The tiniest compromise is hell, even though you believe the ego that some small part of a personal identity can be preserved and you can still find heaven within. Jesus, will you show me if there's any parts I'm still preserving that would say no to heaven? He says, I'm not sure I understand. He says, just stay. Not sure I understand. How about that play in consciousness? I don't compute this, Jesus. In the light of divine being, is there anything we truly would hide from ourselves? Does the light hide anything? Have little buried treasure? You can ask Jesus, did I come into this world as light? That's the only thing that exits. He says, just see that you're not really in this world. That's just a desired experience to pretend like you're in the world. But ask me, Jesus, am I in this world? And here is the answer. No. The only source of happiness is this. Thank you, Jesus, for this. So very dear. Thank you, brothers. So tomorrow we're going to have a silent contemplation at 2. And we will set it up. We don't know. The neighbors could play music for all we know. But we are going to set it up so that we'll have a video going, just looking out at the mountain. If you'd like to just sit in silence, starting at 2, and just be with Jesus in infinite set the dollar infinite and sit there and let him tell you of heaven. And we'll be in silence here. We may or may not have visitors, and then it'll be followed at 4 with a movie, Unknown. I have no idea which one yet, but I know it's love. And followed by, of course, to hear from the brothers. We'll watch the movie with Jesus and you can share what you're hearing. Thank you. Love you. Supreme happiness #.